Welcome back as we get right to our guest tonight here on State of Our Schools. Joining us this week is Wesner Pierre, the CEO of Partnership with Children. He actually just celebrated 1 year in that position, so a big congratulations to Wesner and all the important work that you're doing there supporting the mental health and well-being of thousands of students across the city. So thanks for being back with us, Wesner, as now is an important time as ever to talk about this tonight here on State of Our Schools.
Amanda, thank you for having me. It's great to be back again. I wish under better circumstances as we navigating through challenging times, but it's really great to be back.
Yeah, it is almost every week that we are reporting on some act of violence involving students or near a school, sadly. And as CEO of Partnership with Children and the work that you're doing in schools with social workers, is this something that kids are bringing up with their social workers in school? And how are those conversations evolving?
Yeah, it's a great question. At Partnership with Children, we deliver in-school social work and healing arts to 30,000 New York City school children. And what we're really doing is we're addressing trauma, toxic stress, and loss for so many children, and really removing the barriers to success for our young folks. So when incidents like this, shootings in communities happen, we have a school in West Harlem, but when incidents like this happen, it's certainly a cause for concern with our students, with our families, with school administrators, and our licensed clinical social workers are really standing in the gap and providing support to our young folks during these challenging times.
Can you walk me through how that support looks like, what it feels like for those students? What are these conversations composed of? How are they unfolding inside of our school buildings right now?
It's a great question. A key part of our work is really providing our children with sort of agency and resiliency and ensuring that they feel safe and inspired. And when we talk about safety, we're not talking about just physical safety, but psychological safety as well. And we do that in three ways, right? Like the core of our work is really focused on placing those licensed clinical social workers, those trusted adults who can counsel children in a safe space in school. And also we layer on an additional layer of healing arts work, which is really used to help young folks express themselves and their feelings. In addition to that, we have our community schools, which really think about our schools as an ecosystem of support. And when we think about addressing the whole child and their needs, that's really what that does, and pushing in supports across community and providing community resources and parenting groups as well. And this also extends into the after-school space for us.
And perfect segue to my next question, because so often when we talk about this violence and safety, the conversation becomes about providing kids with that support and opportunity, not just in school, outside of school as well, to keep them from being pressured by the negative influences out there. And this is the work that you're doing. I was asking you a little bit about that three-pronged approach that you take at Partnership with Children in helping students deal with some of the traumas that they're experiencing. You touched on the healing arts programming that you're doing inside of city schools. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how that looks and what it aims to bring to our students?
Yeah, so glad to be back again. Tech issues having been resolved, but when we have the chance to engage a child at school where they feel safe and heard, when we can help them express themselves through the arts or STEM and build a community during the school day and then after school, we know that this works, right? We marry our licensed clinical social workers with our teaching artists to bring really unique and creative arts-based programming. So one of them looks like a program called Funny Girls, where our young folks get a chance to express themselves doing improv. And that's also an additional way to connect with our young folks. And we know that this approach works in the community school models that we run. We know that this increases their English language arts and their math scores through the fourth grade and beyond. And we know that there's an improved attendance and also decrease in chronic absenteeism.
So all impressive effects of the work that you're doing. Obviously, a lot of this conversation has revolved around how to deal with the trauma that students are experiencing with the violence that we're seeing surrounding schools, but also a time to remind ourselves that it's been 3 years this week since the COVID pandemic started. Obviously, there are lingering impacts that I'm sure your social workers are helping students process. Can you talk me through a little bit about the work that's being done on that side of things now as well?
Yeah, our families are still dealing with loss, right? We have not fully emerged from the pandemic, and so we're still supporting our young folks in a variety of ways, and not just them, but we're also supporting school communities, making sure school educators are also getting the tools that they need to work with our young folks, utilizing trauma-informed practices, and just making sure that the school community is healthy, well, and whole, so our young folks would really be able to build healthy relationships. And when we think about economic mobility and social mobility, we want to make sure that our young folks have access to that. And so we want to create environments, remove those barriers to success, and we do that in a really holistic way.
Echoing what I said before about the work that you do being so important, Wesner, thanks for being back with us here and for your patience tonight. Hope to see you again
Great.
soon.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you, Amanda.
Of course.